I used to garden just like my granny. I got the call first thing on Monday morning. Today's video is part of my Melanoma Diagnosis story series where I share stories from you, my audience, my viewers who have sent stories or given me permission to share your story. Thank you so much. Today's story comes from the channel Farmstead Dreaming and was actually a comment to a video, one of my videos, and I asked permission if I could share with you because I think a lot of you can relate to the fear of gardening outside. Me, I cannot relate because I do not enjoy gardening, but I know a lot of you do. For most of my life, 37 years old, my whole family have been outdoors people. I began helping my granny in her garden when I was knee-high, literally probably 2 or 3 years old, and have actual pictures of me with a dark tan to prove it. Despite the fact I am of Anglo ancestry, being in the sun was considered healthy. And sunblock, as it was called back then, was for people who were paranoid about cancer, and it would block all the goodness we were thought to receive from spending 8 or more hours outside in the sun. We were basically sun-worshipping people. Only sick people avoided the sun, and that's probably why they're sick in the first place. They need to be outside in the sun, I heard growing up. The only time sunblock was ever used was if we went out of town to the beach. And even then we didn't reapply. I have no idea how many sunburns I've had in my relatively short years. It makes me a little panicky when I think it, as it was so many I couldn't begin to count them. And that's just sun exposure. If you live in the South, you know the rite of passage that is tanning beds or laying out for girls coming of age, and I got burns from both. Being in the sun was viewed as more healthy than taking a daily vitamin. You don't need vitamins, just go lay out in the sun. The sun will give you everything you need. Honestly, I felt the same way. The sun always made me feel so good, so I believed it. Getting diagnosed with melanoma in February has been one crazy ride, despite the fact that it was only stage 0. My cancer was found only in passing. I had a granuloma, which I was worried could be cancerous due to my mother getting melanoma around the age I am now. Dermatologists removed the granuloma during the appointment, no problem. I figured since I was there and had been thinking about my mom's diagnosis, asked if I could begin full skin exams, and made an appointment for the following week on a Friday. Dermatologist walked all around me and pointed to a spot nearly in the center of my chest above my right breast and said, "I don't like the look of that. We'll take a biopsy just to be sure." I just went on my merry way thinking nothing of it. I got the call first thing on Monday morning. I knew as soon as the number popped up on my phone, something was wrong. I was told it was melanoma in situ, and I needed to come in ASAP so they could remove it. My life hasn't been the same since. I used to garden just like my granny, and being in the hot sun in summer, growing and tending a garden was my way to deal with the grief of losing her a few years ago. And it became a revelation for me. Changed my life, really, and now that connection and healing I found are gone. People may talk to me, but in my head I'm having the same thoughts as you about skip areas in my sunscreen, or if I wiped it off, or if I'm sweating it off. My in-ground gardens transformed from 200 square feet lawn by my blood and sweat lie fallow and full of weeds. Thank you so much for sharing your story. If you would like to submit your story to me, I'll pop up my email address right here.